As you wake up in the morning, you want to find the latest, greatest information about criminal cases and have an intuitive conversation about the suspects associated with these cases. Head over to the Bullhorn Betty channel on YouTube. Get breaking news right here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club. Enjoy your stay and enjoy your day.
Hey guys, hopefully you guys can hear me just fine. So one of my mods was just dropped a link in the chat about Charlotte Sena. I had no clue. I lost track with all the stuff going on that Craig Ross Jr. Had an arraignment today. He had an arraignment today, and you know, he was, if anybody remembers, there was an intense manhunt. When was this? Back in October, I think, and it was in like Morrow Lake State Park. It's a popular upstate park in New York. She was camping with her friends and family, and they apparently do this, and she was riding her bike with her friends, and then she wanted to go around by herself but never came back. Then they found her bike, no helmet, so it looked like a snatch and grab. Her parents immediately called law enforcement. Law enforcement came out. There was an intense manhunt. They didn't even know who they were looking for at the time. I mean, the area there wasn't a whole lot, from my understanding, a whole lot of cameras in and around the area, but there were some. But what really caught this guy was he decided to put a ransom in the mailbox of the family. And apparently he's known the family, and people he knows the family. So it sounds like he has been watching this family. I don't know if that's the case or not. I haven't previewed the complete indictment just yet, but we kind of do have it up. I don't know if this is the newest one or not. This looks like it was the one from, this is the one dated October 3rd. So I know that they've upgraded the charges. He was charged with 1 count of kidnapping at first, and we talked about it possibly being upgraded because, am I having some technical issues? Hold on one second. Let me just remove my green screen. Okay, it's a little messy behind me. I'm just going to go ahead and remove the green screen. It'll help. It should help it should help just a little bit. Hold on a second. Don't mind the there we go. Okay, don't mind the mess. Don't mind the mess. Okay, don't mind the mess. I like the Bullhorn, right? They should probably fix whatever laggy stuff that we had going on there. So he was arrested on 1 count of kidnapping, but we all know, because we did some research on him, and we found out that this is not the first accusation of messing around with children. There was another girl in his family. The case ended up getting dropped, or they decided not to pursue it. I can't remember all the ins and outs of that case. But I recall that it not being, his first time. We knew, and I even refer to him as an RSO, and somebody's like, well, he's not an RSO, he's not registered, right? And okay, well, fine, he's an SO, okay? It doesn't really matter whether he's registered or not. It's the mindset, it's the person, it's the, who they are, and he's just a bad dude. He's done terrible things, and I'm surprised that he has not gone to jail before this. It should never have taken this, in my opinion. So it's been upgraded. I'm going to show a video first. It just kind of sucks because we're going to be talking about, I'm not getting graphic or anything like that, but we were all here. It's not like, we're all adults. We understand. If this is a touchy subject for you personally, maybe this show isn't for you, and catch us tomorrow morning at 6:30 or later tonight, at our 6:30 show tonight. This is, again, one of these breaking news moments where we're coming live because this is a case that we covered in length and did a lot of investigative work on related to Craig Ross and finding out who he was and what he was all about and where he was and all the location. We even have our map still, our Earth, Google Earth map still pinned and active right now that we were working on, when we were trying to follow this stuff. We also identified 2 individual girls that lived or that were around, that disappeared, were ARR'd, and killed, that were around and looked, let's be honest, they looked pretty much like Charlotte Sena. They sure did. I still believe that girl is lucky to be alive. I feel like it's in a community that small, it's hard to find more than one creep. Right? I'm not saying that there's not more than one creep, but there's usually not more than one creep that acts out. Sometimes there are. I mean, I don't want to, there are outliers out there in different communities and whatnot, but this is a smaller community. And you got a guy that likes these, likes younger looking girls. And when you looked at the 2, like the 3 girls outside of the one, I can't remember which one her name was. I think maybe Jennifer or something like that. Charlotte and one of the victims looked like they could have been sisters. That's how close their facial expressions and facial features mimicked one another. One is dead, and one was found with the creep in a cabinet in his trailer, an RV. It's just some sick, twisted stuff. So we're all adults here. We have to understand what type of charges were added. Okay, they're uncomfortable, they're very personal and private charges, which, I think when they charged this creep with the kidnapping, we were just praying to God that it was just, the kidnapping and the ransom, but we had a feeling. We all knew, but we never, I even said it. I did say it. I said, I have a funny feeling once they get the forensics back, they were going to upgrade those charges. We discussed it on here. It's just, but now reading it and reading some of it, it kind of upsets me a little bit, because one of the articles, let me, it's from Fox News, and I understand that they got stuff to sell, but a New York man charged with child R after police rescued kidnapped 9-year-old. Why can't we use assaulted? She's 9 years old. Do better. I expect Fox News to have, catchy things, but putting all our business, we're going to have to hear it anyways. But it's just, I don't know, just seeing it in print just makes it real. So go ahead. Well, I'm going to go ahead and run with this little clip here for you guys. Just to get an update of what happened and what transpired in the court hearing.
YT Albany. News Channel 13 live at noon begins right now.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Caitlin Erla. We begin with breaking news. The man accused of kidnapping a 9-year-old girl from Moreau Lake State Park and sparking a massive search was just in Saratoga County Court this morning. Our Mark Mulholland was inside the courtroom. He joins us now live from Saratoga to tell us what happened. Good afternoon, Mark.
Caitlin, good afternoon from outside the Saratoga County Courthouse in Ballston Spa. This is the latest on a case that captured the attention and the prayers of a nation. A child innocently riding her bike in a state park when she was snatched up by a stranger. And today, that stranger is accused of kidnapping. Craig Ross Jr. was arraigned here on a 9-count indictment just a few minutes ago. He's accused of grabbing up the 9-year-old in Moreau Lake State Park on the evening of September 30th as she rode her bike during a family visit to the park. She was found almost exactly 48 hours later in a camper behind Craig Ross's mother's home on Barrett Road in Milton. Members of the State Police Special Operations Team swarmed in and rescued the little girl and arrested Ross. That was the climax of a 2-day search involving hundreds of people. And police and prosecutors say their big break came when Ross left a ransom note in the mailbox of the little girl's family home demanding $50,000. And that ransom note was central to the indictment that was handed up and the arraignment on the indictment that was handled here in court today. 9 counts in all. The top count is kidnapping in the first degree. There are other counts that News Channel 13 has decided not to identify out of respect for the well-being and privacy of the little girl. Shortly after the indictment, I spoke with Saratoga County District Attorney Karen Hagan. Here's what she had to say. Final question. What would you like the family of this little girl to know as it relates to the justice you're seeking?
I think that what we're looking to do is to do our job, and we will do it well. We will do it thoroughly and completely because of the work that has been done and continues to be done by law enforcement to hold this defendant who's committed a heinous, terrible offense against a tender-aged victim. We will hold him accountable and responsible.
A conviction of kidnapping carries a minimum sentence of 15 to 25 years and a maximum to life in prison. We're just starting to pour through this indictment and figure out exactly what else we can share this afternoon, and we will provide you with live updates throughout the afternoon. Reporting live.
So we're just going to want to, I know we have, on a true crime channel, we have a lot of people that could use prayers, right? We have prayers for the people in the chat going through whatever they're going through, medically or otherwise. We've got all these missing children, missing people that have been murdered, all these things. We're always constantly, power of prayer, power of prayer, power of prayer. But I can't think of any other prayer right now that needs to be said than for this little 9-year-old girl, and just how extremely lucky she is. The odds, the odds were stacked. So, the experts, everybody, we were just amazed that she was still alive. I have to be honest with you. It was a relief. But we know that it had to have been, a pretty rough experience for her. And this guy was a bad dude. And then we dig in a little deeper and we find out that there's 2 other young girls that were murdered, and their murder has been unsolved. They look very much similar to Charlotte, and they were right around Craig Ross Jr. at the time, in the close vicinity at the time of their murders. So I truly, truly believe that she's lucky in and of itself, but then to hear that and to hear how close those other 2 girls were to this monster, it definitely is enough to cause you pause. I truly believe if she had not been killed, she was going to be killed. He made a fatal mistake. His fatal mistake was the ransom note. That fatal mistake, I truly believe, saved that young girl's life. I don't know what else to say other than that. So I'm just going to read this. I'm going to try to read this as delicately as possible because it's just a sad story. So this is in Boston Spa, New York. This is Craig Ross Jr., 46-year-old New York man accused of abducting a 9-year-old girl from her bicycle and holding her for ransom is now accused of the unthinkable with the child while he kept her captive in his camper behind his mother's double wide trailer. A Saratoga County court unsealed a 9-count indictment Friday as Ross pleaded not guilty yet. And that's why it's breaking, because this is all just coming out within the last hour or so, guys. And police arrested Ross last month on kidnapping charges, but he now faces charges of first-degree predatory SA against a, underage. And there's more. So that's all I'm really willing to say on here. It's a little more graphic in this New York this Fox News article, but that's just really all I feel comfortable saying about this young 9-year-old child. The police say he left his fingerprints on the ransom note that the state troopers watched him stuff into the victim's family's mailbox. A DUI arrest from 1999 helped police identify the suspect who they traced to the camper of his mother's property. Within the camper, they located the suspect. New York Governor Kathy Hochul, I can't pronounce her name, I never do, said during a news brief, after tactical teams captured Ross and rescued the child alive after some resistance, the suspect was taken into custody, and immediately the little girl was found in a cabinet covered. She was rescued. Ross's mother told reporters to get off her property when approached for comment. And I got to say, and I'm going to say this, and people can just be offended because I offend people all the time, and it just doesn't bother me anymore. You know, it obviously bothers them. It doesn't really bother me, but his mother is a real piece of shit too. His whole family is. They're garbage. If you really want to know what I think of his entire family, I think they're trash. I have a right. If you don't believe me, look them up yourself, do your homework. I guarantee you'll come to the same conclusion I have. His mother has enabled him because he's been nasty to her. He's been nasty to her, so she just lets him walk all over her anytime. He constantly wants to claim MS, but she's just as nasty as he is. She had every opportunity. Don't tell me that mother did not know what her boy was up to. Give me a break. How many mamas are out there in my chat? We got it's an afternoon show, so we only have 112 people in this chat right now. Put a 1 in the chat if you're a mama or a daddy. I'm curious. How many of you guys are parents? Maybe I should ask you how many of you guys are parents and live with your kids, right? Because she's living with her adult kid. He's got his own space, probably because she can't handle it. Now, granted, you guys, let's be honest, okay? I'm going to put myself in my mother's shoes, okay? I know that there's been times I've lied to my mother's face, right? Growing up, we just do that, right? We lie to our mother. Did you clean your room? Yeah, I cleaned my room. Mom goes in there a week later and realizes you stuffed everything under your bed. You lied to her, right? We lie to our parents. Okay, we just do. As we get older, let's hope that we all grow up and just realize we're adults and we don't really care what mommy and daddy says anymore. And we can tell them the truth, right? Did you do that? Yes, I did. Why did you do that? What does it really matter? But when we're kids, we lie to our parents. Now, granted, like my mom, I'm sure when I lied to her, she wanted to believe me, right? Right? She wanted to believe me. She convinced herself to believe me, right? But didn't she know? I mean, she did know, right? She had to convince herself otherwise. But she knew I lied. She knew I lied. I'm a father. I always are on what my sons does. Yeah, exactly. We may fool ourselves. I mean, we may try to convince ourselves, but let's face it. We know if our child's a problematic child. We may not want to address it. We may say, oh, it's just boys being boys, or he'll grow out of it, right? But we convince ourselves, but we know. Now, I'm talking about children, underage children. When you get a little older and you've been around your child for 46 years, right? He is 46, if I'm not mistaken. Probably should check that because, 47 years old. We have the exact police here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. Don't want to offend anybody. So sorry, okay? Not 46 years old, okay? 47. We want to make sure that we are absolutely factual. I would hate to make a mistake. So he's at 47. You really know your kid, right? At this time, he's a flippin' loser. Okay. He's 47 years old, sucking the tit of mom, right? He's at her property. He's living in his crap RV on her property because he can't pay his bills because he's a piece of garbage. But don't tell me that his mother knew nothing. Don't tell me that she didn't see the news on her TV. Don't tell me she didn't willfully just not pick up the phone and call 911. Don't tell me she didn't hear that little girl screaming. Don't tell me. Because I saw how close that camper was to her house. And I have to imagine a terrified 9-year-old girl. And I'd have to imagine that whether that mother wanted to acknowledge what was going on or not, she knew. And did nothing. Did nothing to help that girl. That's your son, lady. You created that monster. Nobody else created that monster. Now, granted, people are like, Betty, you're a little too harsh, right? Sometimes parents do, raise their kids the best that they can raise their kids. And sometimes they're just wired wrong. A rotten apple. It's not the parent's fault. I agree with that in a lot of the cases. I do. But I don't agree with that in this case. I don't agree with that in this case. And I don't care whether they can prove that that lady knew or not, or whether she has any charges, either accessory before, after, or whatever. I really don't care. Don't tell me she didn't know. Don't do that. Don't insult our intelligence. Don't insult our intelligence. Oh, so they put the counts up here. Let me see if I can download these. We'll read it. I'm going to read it delicately. I'm not going to show it on the screen. Just work with me here, okay? It says here that the grand jury of the county of Saratoga, by this indictment, accuses the defendant, Craig N. Ross Jr., of the crimes of kidnapping in the first degree, a Class A1 felony, and in violation of, they got the penal code there. It says the defendant of the town of Milton, county of Saratoga, state of New York, on or about September 30th, 2023 through October 2nd, 2023, abducted another person, and his intent was to compel a third party to pay or deliver money or property as ransom, or to engage in other particular conduct, or to refrain from engaging in particular conduct. Count 2. The grand jury, aforesaid by this indictment, accuses the defendant, Craig N. Ross, of predatory SA against a CHILD, a Class A2 second degree felony in violation of the penal code. And it says the defendant in the town of Milton, county of Saratoga, state of New York, on or about September 30th through October 2nd, being 18 years older or more, committed the crime of blank in the first degree as defined by the penal code. The victim was less than 13 years old. To wit, the defendant engaged in certain actions with another person who was less than 13 years old. And the actor is 18 years old or older. This sick. Guys, let me open this. I got to open up a different one because I got to flip a page. I can't read it. Sorry. They flipped the page the wrong way. Give me just a second. There it is. So let me breathe. There we go. Okay. Let me read this one instead of that one. So again, this poor little girl, yes, please, trigger warning, y'all. This poor little girl needs our prayers, okay? She just needs our prayers. This is just, oh God. Count 3. It's the same charge as count 1. So that tells you, obviously, something happened. There's just sometimes I gotta say, my blood is boiling, and I can feel like the flames of like the pit of hell ready to come out of my eyes and ears at this moment as I'm reading this horrible indictment of this monster, this absolute flippin' monster. And you know what? It's times like this that this rage almost comes over me, where I finally understand Lorena Bobbitt. You know what I mean? It's just times like this that she becomes my freaking idol. I have to be honest with you. Chemical castration is that, you know what? Like, I don't want to see that. When stuff like this happens, pull it out and take a cleaver to it. Seriously. What's up with this painless crap? Do you think this little girl is free from pain? Jeez. How I don't understand why our court system sometimes, I do, but I don't understand why our court system wants us to act with dignity to a monster that didn't even show that dignity to another person. They want us to be kind to these monsters and treat them with humanity when they couldn't even show another human being that same humanity. Like, literally, give me a cleaver, let me take care of the problem, save our taxpayers some freaking money, right? Send them to Idaho. They got a firing squad out there, y'all. Just send them on out. This guy makes me sick. It's hard to even cover this. It was hard for me to even cover her missing, but we had to because she was missing at the time, and there was an active manhunt looking for her. And so we just had to put her face out there anywhere and everywhere we could. When he was arrested for kidnapping, we all knew. And, we were all in here together. We see each other. We talk. We know. It's just sad. It's hard for me to go through this. So we got count 3, which is the same as count 2. And count 4, again, the same as count 2 and 3. They cut off count 4, 5, 6, and 7. I don't see that unless it's down here. Is this? And they put 2 of the same pages. They put 2 of the same. So I don't have 6, 7, 8. But they do. I do have 4, and I do have 8 and 9. And 8 is so I'm assuming that the reason why they cut it is because 5, 6, and 7 are probably the same as 2, 3, and 4. And then count 8 is the assault in the second degree. And this is alleging that on or about September 30th through October 2nd, in the course of and in furtherance of the attempted commission of a felony or of immediate flight thereof, cause physical injury to another person. So it sounds like this might be related to them taking him into custody, because we did hear it wasn't an easy arrest, that he did put up some type of fight. So that might be related to the actual arrest itself. And then, of course, 9 is endangering the welfare of a child. And it says that on or about September 30th, that he knowingly and in a manner likely to be injurious and physical, mental, or moral welfare of a child less than 17 years old. They state that between on or about September 30th to October 2nd, the subjected another person to, certain contact that they shouldn't have been subjected to when the other person was less than 11 years old. This is a sick, twisted freak. There's no other word for it than that. He's a freak. And these type of people have no place in our society. They just don't. So I'm not going to stay here too long. We still have a show tonight. I just know that this was a case that we are covering. I wanted to come out here and just give you guys the update. Let me make sure there's nothing else here. So it looks like I was right. So when this all happened, Craig Ross was 46. It sounds like he turned 47 since he's been in jail, or they had his age wrong when this whole search thing was going on. So all I can say is this young lady, this young girl is, you know, her scars are scars that we're not going to be able to see. And it's going to be a very difficult, you know, I don't think you ever quite get over something like this. She's so young, you know, she might be resilient enough to block it out and lead a normal life. But even when you block it out and you lead a normal life, you have still, and you don't realize it, but you still have you know, you try to fill a hole that you don't know exists. It's, you know, whether she's going to start consuming, you know, food, other things, you know, doing, you know, going and just being like a hermit. There's going to be some negative effects, you know, childhood trauma. We talk about childhood trauma on this channel a lot and how much it dictates us as adults when we get into our adulthood and how it does affect us. Because I got to tell you, when I was a piece of crap, you know, dealing with a lot of stuff and just wanting to hide and keep myself anesthetized with whatever substance I could get my hands on, you know, you realize, you don't realize at that time until you start purging that. And 90% of a lot of my adult problems stem from childhood trauma that I have not addressed and have not dealt with. And sometimes I allow trauma to still infiltrate my life so much so that it knocks me off of my nexus. And that can always be problematic when you have a recovering person, right? So you got to be healthy mentally, you got to be healthy physically, you got to be healthy spiritually. But is she going to turn out like that? I don't know. I just know for me, childhood trauma was what caused me a lot of adult problems. That's all I can say. Trust issues, all types of stuff. You name it. It happens. This right here was egregious. This was extreme. This was, I can't, you know, I always try to put myself in sometimes the victim's shoes. And it just helps me identify, or, you know, when I'm out on a case or whatever, it just helps me identify, you know, feelings or whatnot. And I can't even put myself in this young girl's position. To be honest with you, it scares me too much. She's a very brave girl, you know, she's a very brave girl. And I hope that she recovers from this. I hope her family seems like they're a really good support system, awesome family. So I think that she'll get the counseling and the therapy that she needs to live a normal, you know, a normal childhood and a normal adult life. We pray, but you just never know. You never know how deep these scars are going, because, you know, something that affects two people can have the same exact thing happen to them. The exact same thing, the exact same way. Two people will have the exact same things happen. And they process whatever that is totally different. Where one, it could almost be the end of that person, where the same situation in another person might be what gives them the juice they need to thrive and to be better and what have you. So each of those traumas are different and affect individuals differently. So you can only pray. You can only pray for this child and pray that she has a, you know, a normal childhood. But even trying for me to put myself in the position of how scary that little 9-year-old girl could be is just heartbreaking for me. And I can't. It's too scary for me, to be honest with you. It scares me. And that guy was pure evil. So prayers, prayer chain. Don't forget to keep her in the talking points today. Let people know that he, you know, he's a monster. And People get frustrated with some of the stuff I say, but I'm sorry. You know, it just really pisses me off here. I'm going to get in a little bit of this. New York, I don't think New York doesn't have a death penalty. It's not a death penalty state, is it? Let me see. Let me ask Google. I don't think it is. No other person in the state has been given death since 1988. Is a death penalty, and it says capital punishment was outlawed in 2004 in New York. Seriously. I'm looking into that case here in Bradenton. The one where that guy killed his mom and her boyfriend in that trailer. You know, I'm looking into that, and I actually, you know, because it affects my community, and it's talking about, you know, my sheriff, and I want to know discreetly whether my sheriff did anything wrong, right? So I looked under the hood. I was a little surprised what I found. I'm thankful that my sheriff did nothing wrong, at least in my opinion. But we do have a problem. And it's kind of festering up right now because I didn't know it was happening right here in my community. And we're going to talk about it tonight at 6:30. We're going to talk about some shady stuff going on that you guys need to probably be looking at in your own community to make sure your state attorney's not doing some of the things that my state attorney is doing. I'm really upset. Do you know this, that those two people should still be alive right now? That man shouldn't even have been out of jail. You heard me. That man should not even have been out of jail. So that's a state prosecution problem right there. And we're going to dive into that a little later today. I may be doing a couple series on it. We'll see. Yeah, wow is right. You damn right. Wow is right. You guys need to be watching your state. I didn't know it. I did not know it. I would not have believed it. Let me be honest with you. I would not have believed it. So, you know what? If I can call somebody out halfway across this country, I can certainly call out our state attorney right here in my own county. Certainly I can do that. Right? So we'll be back tonight at 6:30. Be there or be square. God bless, guys. Take care.